Hello, hello. Thank you so much for joining me for today's episode of Career Conversations. My name is Unica Walcott, and today's guest is Chakay Witherspoon. He is a creative entrepreneur and storyteller, and he's going to talk to us today about his journey to becoming an entrepreneur. And one of his projects is coming out soon. It's really exciting. Check it out. Welcome, Chakay. How are you?
How you doing? I'm good. I'm good. How's everything?
Good, good. I'm so glad you could join me for Career Conversations. I'm really excited about your project, but I won't tell all of that just straight away. I want to talk to you a little
Okay.
about what your family thinks you do when you tell them that you're a creative entrepreneur and
Uh,
storyteller.
my family knows I do a lot of things, so sometimes it's hard to articulate because it can be so varied in terms of the response that I give them. Some days I'm working on film, stuff. Some days I'm working on writing. Some days I'm working on music and rapping and singing and making beats. Some days it's just all marketing and social media stuff. So, I think sometimes it can be like, I don't know what that guy's doing over there, but I know he's busy. So,
Well, that's cool though because that's kind of why you went with the umbrella of like creative entrepreneur because it sounds like you've got a few hats you wear in
right.
terms of being creative. You got the film, you got the music making, and the marketing. That is a lot of different hats to wear. Do you have one
Exactly.
that's your favorite?
I would say music is where I'm really starting. That's the starting point because I know music will allow me to kind of have the flow as an artist to kind of navigate the other spaces, the way I really want to. There's a marketing essence that an artist has that few other industries you can carry that over. So I think music would really be the one I could stick with, and
That's home.
that's the hub. Yeah, most definitely. And then
Okay.
everything else will kind of find its place, but they intersect well. So that's kind of really where my headspace is.
No, I like that. Total sidebar. Recently worked with started working with a career coach, and she kind of showed me some websites of people who have kind of a similar approach to life. Of like, some people grow up and they go, "I'm going to be an engineer, or I'm going to
Right.
be a doctor," and then you've got people that are kind of like, "I've got this mission-driven sort of approach to the way I'm living," and so it really doesn't matter what the actual title is so much. It's like, does this align?
Right.
And so that
Most.
sounds something you and I have kind of in common about how we approach life. It's like, does this align with my values?
Right.
Is it, something I enjoy? I remember the interview with your mom, and
Hmm.
she talked about if her hands love it, then she can do it.
Right. I mean, I think that's the goal for truly creative people. It's like if you're a really creative person, most of the time you just don't have one thing that you're interested in. You got these 50 things that you're interested in, and sometimes you just got to prioritize how you're going to attack them. So
Yes.
that's really, I think, the thing, as opposed to just choosing one. I mean, there's no set way. You could be a jack of all trades. You could be a person who just focuses on one thing. But if you choose to go down many routes, I think there does need to be some level of prioritization of how you're going to attack it. But it's not to say that you can't do multiple things, especially if they coincide.
Right. So for you, what does that process look like for figuring out which things take priority as a creative?
From the thought process side, I look at things I sort of like reverse engineer everything that
Huh.
I try to do. So it's like, okay, what's the end goal, that I want to live out, as opposed to the goal as a project. It's like, okay, where would I want my life to be at this particular point? And what things am I doing? Am I making films on a daily basis? Am I writing screenplays? Am I making music? Am I touring? Am I doing this, doing that? So I try to get that whole perspective, and then I back up from there. Okay, what types of projects would I be working on? Am I independent? Am I not independent? Am I here? And then I just keep slowly backing up until I get to a point of kind of where I'm at now, where it's I'm merging, fields together with music and film and writing and marketing. So that's kind of how I came up with the project that I'm working on now. It's called Touch. So it's a
Okay.
mixture of a film that I want to do, but
Hmm.
because I didn't have the budget, to do a film right now the way I would like to do it, I just said, let me just write a short story book the same way, films are adapted to, from short story books all the time. So I said,
Yes,
okay,
all the time. There's some of the best movies are adapted from books.
from books. So, so I was like, let me just write, if I could write a screenplay, I can attack trying to write a book. So I did the short story book. and now I'm just working on an EP that's adapted to the book. So it's like a soundtrack to a book, almost the same way a soundtrack to a movie would be.
That's cool to have a soundtrack to a book, because I feel like if you're a really good writer, you take people places, and so the soundtrack to the book like really just builds upon this idea of what the space and time feels like. You don't have to make it up so much. You said, look, as an author and a musician, like I can merge these intentions for you so you can have a more complete experience. That's really cool.
Most definitely. I think, that's kind of the space I wanted to go into. It's just like, if you read the book, you'll enjoy it on its own. If you listen to the EP, you could enjoy it on its own. But listening to together, you would see like, okay, I see where he's going with this. And musically, I made all the beats. I did the music, so it kind of gave me some stuff.
All right, so Beyonce got to watch out for Chakay. She did the visual album, and now you got books and EPs together.
I mean, that's a stretch, but B's a monster, but
Oh, she is a monster, but the monster had to start somewhere too.
There you go.
This is a monster in the making.
Yes. That's what I'm aiming towards.
That's what's up. So you've done the music. What does that process start like for you? Do you start first with the book and then the music, or does it kind of a simultaneous process? How did that go?
From the creative side, I started pretty much with the synopsis of the book, just the story I wanted to kind of go with. And I'm pretty much halfway through the book, maybe 75% of the way through the book. I started kind of working on, I don't know if people know, but they have these things with film scoring called motifs. And motifs allow you to sort of attach a sound or a sort of melody line to a character. So if you listen to maybe superhero movies, anytime like, if you're watching Batman, the Joker comes in, there's a certain little sound that you'll kind of continuously hear throughout the movie. And you subconsciously, registers to you that, okay, the Joker's coming. So somewhere, I don't know where he's coming from, but somewhere he's going to be here. So I started working with that. Like, what can I build around the storyline sonically, and from there, I just started slowly identifying what's the major points throughout the book that I can kind of make into songs.
Wow. That sounds really, really fun. So like, as far as like music is concerned, like, are you in the studio producing things? Are you playing instruments? What's your process look like?
Yeah, I built a little, small home studio setup, and I make beats on a device called a machine. I don't know if people are familiar with drum machines and how they sample on, drum side. That's one aspect of it. And then I use a software called Logic Pro.
Okay.
And I play, keys a little bit. I play bass guitar, I play lead guitar, little drums, sing and rap. And, so I try to meld that all together.
Okay. So you don't have to be in all modest. He's like, I can do all this stuff, but
I mean, there's talented people all over the world in terms of music. But I know that's kind of where the book, and music idea came from, is like the marketing aspect. There's a lot of talented people out there. It's like they can sing and they be singing on TikTok and rapping and dancing and stuff. But in terms of being an artist, you have to kind of have your marketing together, know what your career span is going to look like. So those are the things. Melding that with, the talent that I have is kind of where, I'm trying to push that.
So the project is called Touch. When can we get our hands on this?
So the book is actually already out on my website.
Okay.
So my website is iamchakay.com. So it's iamchakay.com. Just like my name, Chakay, and then just put I am in front of it. Yeah, the book is already out. It's a short story book. It's about 100 pages. Quick read. I didn't want to make it too novel heavy, because the purpose is for me to be able to eventually make it a film, so I did this volume first. It's a nice quick read, kind of wets your palate a little bit, in terms of storyline. Then eventually I'll do a second volume, and then the two of those will eventually be what I'll work on as the screenplay and then the film. But, in this way I'll be able to have a fan base around what will eventually be the film, and then I can still do movies and I can do music, and so there's a lot of marketing space in there for me to kind of create a world around this just one story.
Okay, so there's a way for you to build the music out. You're going to have a second sort of book in the series. The first one is 100 pages, which I think is really good and easy kind of read.
Right.
So people are feeling overwhelmed and going, well, I didn't finish this. Like there's something special about when you finally finish a book.
I know.
So if it's like, cliffhanger sort of end, then you can go, where's the next one? And then there's the music to kind of maybe even hold you over while you wait it out.
Most definitely. That's kind of the feeling. Is just to be able to, I look at a lot of other people in the music industry and film and entertainment, somebody like a 50 Cent, what he's doing with Power, kind of allowing, you to be able to attach yourself to this world where all these characters sort of live, and then there's music attached to it, there's songs that he releases and different things. So I thought that was an interesting way to, release a lot of content because, it's starting out with me, but eventually where I'll get to a point where it's like I can act, as the main character, because even with the book, I put myself on the cover because I eventually want it to be a film. And I want in your mind, when you're reading the book, to have my type of personality, my archetype, as a person, as a Black character in mind while you're reading. So it just gives it another, I don't know if authors usually do that for fiction, books, but I just figure it's like, hey, let's give it a shot.
No, I think it's cool. Also, sometimes I want to ask people, like when you read books, like who do you imagine? And is that based off your own identity or is it based off the information given about the character? Like that's something I've always really wondered. So I think it's interesting that you were intentional about your character.
Yeah, I mean, because I think depending on how, how the story structure, where it's placed, all of those subtle things, if it's a spy, story and it's based in Russia, 9 times out of 10, you're not picturing me. It's like you might, but more than likely, probably not.
Probably why people got so much smoke about the idea of, changing James Bond to be like a woman. It was like, wait, we ain't ready.
Yeah. All of those concepts. Peter Parker being Black, James Bond being Black, James Bond being a woman. It's just like,
It's like we never seen that. How could it be?
I think there's a lot of ways you can attach personality archetypes and personality traits to a character, but you do have to kind of be intentional about how you go about it because people will either think of themselves or they'll take a version of the closest character that it seems like. So.
That is a good point. Kind of go, well, this is similar to Wonder Woman, so let's go with that.
That's what in her head. That's what she's gonna be thinking.
Yeah, that is cool. So, guys, if you want to check out the book, you got to go to imchakay.com and get a copy of his book, Touch. It is out now. It's also got an upcoming EP that is going to go right along with the book, and I'm really excited to check it out. Tell me this. So now you've become a creative entrepreneur and storyteller. What did you want to be when you grew up?
It's funny enough. I was always kind of really into stories, and because when I was like 5 and 6 years old, I always would watch a lot of cartoons, a lot of this. So throughout the shows like the Black Panthers and the Batmans and the Iron Mans, those characters as their normal selves, I thought they were scientists. Because just solving problems in the lab, this and that. So in my mind, I'm like, what? I want to be a scientist.
They're scientists. That's a really cool interpretation.
That's what I thought. Come to find out they're like moguls and superheroes and vigilantes and different things. But just from their not the superhero side, but the person side, it just seemed like that's what they were. So that's what I initially wanted to kind of be, was like a scientist. But in a metaphorical sense, I guess. Scientists basically solve problems, and I think that's what entrepreneurs do, and that's what I think storytellers do in a sense, because you solve people's problems in terms of how they scope life. I think that's what movies and music and any story pretty much just gives you another lens to and perspective to see things through.
That's pretty cool. So tell me this: why is the title Touch? What made you come up with that?
Well, the character is a thief, like an art thief and a con man. And I wanted something very direct, very memorable. So I just was trying to run through names. I was trying to come up with different things. And I just kept coming up with, the character's skill set is pickpocketing and, sleight of hand. So, Touch just seemed like it would fit. And then it sounded like it would be a good nickname for a person or a character. So I just was like, okay, I think I'm gonna go with that. And then I was trying to do something with the cover. If you look at the book, it has a fingerprint there.
Yes.
Yeah. So, eventually what I'll do, things I can do with like QR codes and different things, but I want to make that fingerprint sort of interactive so fans can engage with the actual artwork of it. So it's just, a lot of ideas floating for the next.
There's a lot of brilliant ideas, but is it okay if I give people a sneak peek of the cover?
Oh no, definitely, most definitely.
Okay, hold up. It's gonna go over our faces, but y'all can just kind of see what it looks like here with the fingerprint and the sort of archetypal character that he was talking about. So check it out. It's on his website, iamchakay.com. It's available now. It's 100 pages, so it sounds like it's a super easy read. It sounds like an interesting read. We're talking about some sort of mysterious con man here. I really would love to get to the backstory on that. So I think I'm gonna have to get a copy myself and check it out. Usually I get these beforehand, but I know this is like a new release and it's a part of a special celebration you got coming up.
Yeah, I wanted to release it actually on my birthday because that's when I released the book initially a few years back.
Okay.
And I wanted to do the work on the music and to release it. But now I'm going to kind of switch out, some of what I'm doing with the EP just to give the music release the proper rollout.
To give its own space.
Yeah, because, sometimes with music marketing, you just, put the music out and tell 35 people on your, Instagram or Facebook, go listen to it. 12 people might go, oh, okay, that's cool. But there's no, actual marketing plan beyond, the initial release and your 2-3 days of posting on social media and this and that. So I really wanted to give myself some content. So that's why I'm kind of working on, like a mini documentary of how I actually put together the book, the music. So I have a lot of footage of myself working on the music, why I chose certain tracks, how I came up with the, lyrics and concepts, because the concepts of the songs and the title of the songs work with moments in the book, so
okay.
a lot of it, when you see the documentary, you'll see why I chose, certain angles and why I chose certain things.
Okay, so you're going to keep us all in suspense for a little while. Got it. So look, you can read this over here, and then the music's coming, and then you'll have a documentary, and so then you can kind of see this whole visual come together. That's gonna be a really cool experience. So this is not just a story and not just an album; it is really an experience.
Yeah, it'll be a visual, and sonic thing that you can kind of sink into, So and then that'll allow you to have some space and time. So by the time you'll be able to live with the music for a little while, enjoy it, 6, 7, 8 months down the line, I might have the second one ready. So that's kind of with my mind.
Yeah, I'm just liking the idea that you could like really, in theory, you could get rid of your screen time and like play this album over like your Google, home or whatever speaker and listen to your book and read the book simultaneously. So I think it's a really cool experience that takes us away from TV screens and computer screens. Right. I think that's really a progressive approach. I think some people are over this after like a year and a half on Zoom meetings.
Right. Yeah. It's just that there's a lot of different ways to approach, entertainment now. Audiobooks weren't as powerful of a thing, 10, 15 years ago.
Not even close.
Yeah, not even close. So, now it's just, there's a lot of, if you're a creative person, storyteller, musician, filmmaker, cook, social media, marketer, engineer, tech person, app creator, whatever you are, and whatever you kind of desire to be, there's a lot of space for you to, take your content making, your product creation in a totally different space. You just kind of really got to think about the consumer's experience and then say like, oh, wait a minute, if I do this with that, nobody's doing that. Let me try it this way. So
okay. So tell me this, like, you've got this really, really creative sort of mindset. Like, did you study some of this in college, or what kind of spurred this for you?
I only went to college for a semester. That was really my college experience. But I've always been an avid reader. A lot of my family have a lot of entrepreneurial roots. My grandfather, had I'm sure people tuned into my mother's podcast, she might have kind of went over some of that. My grandfather, my grandmother, some of my aunts, my mother, everybody in the family tree has, some entrepreneurial ideas and, things that they executed over time. So it's kind of a thing that's been around, but I just really try to pay attention to trends and what the market is doing in terms of music, in terms of entertainment. You know, eventually other things in business, I'll be able to kind of solidify those as well. But
Yeah.
that's really where it came from. I think just I'm a self learner.
That's really dope. So tell me this. How can people support you and help you to create your vision? What does that look like?
I mean, depending on what they do
Right.
or where they're at, if they're a person who enjoys entertainment, then there's somebody who could always continually find me on I am Chakay, whether that's YouTube and eventually YouTube content I'll be creating because it's all stemming in the same storyline thing.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, they'll be able to find me through I am Chakay, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, this and that. My website, I have other new content there. If they're on a production side, people that can help me would be a person uh, that's looking to sort of how can I explain it? Sort of be attached to some sort of multimedia company, because
Okay.
essentially that's really where I'm going. I'm doing audio, I'm doing visuals, and I'm doing written. Those
Okay.
are the things that I think are going to be the most powerful. So if somebody has uh, some hands-on approach to any of those mediums, I'm definitely open for a conversation because I have a lane that I kind of want to execute, and wherever that person can fall in, or even if something that I do can help them, and we have similar visions, you know, I'm down for it.
Okay, cool. So some partnerships with some people with some complementary skills is welcome, as well as people to enjoy and appreciate the art, and hopefully getting your film like properly funded. So
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be you know a thing that I think it'll take a little time because I'm working a way of doing music and films. I think that's a space that most people are. They're not necessarily if they're independent doing it. They're doing either one,
yes, one or the other, not both.
not both. So the brand that I'm creating is called IND, stands for Energy Never Dies, but it's like INNERG. Like energy
Okay.
never dies. So it can, that energy part can kind of mean inner God, inner genius, inner gangster, however you want to spin it.
Like gangsta. Okay, I hear
However
you.
you want to spin it. It could be anything, but that part of you, that energy that you emote never dies. But it also sort of, an acronym for independence too. Well, maybe not acronym, but just, initial of independent.
Okay.
So that's the space that I kind of want to play in. And that's really what I'm trying to execute.
Okay, cool. So you and I will be in touch just to
Most
see
definitely.
about other things we can kind of team up on. I've got a lot of creative ideas as well. So
Okay.
that and working on another project to kind of feature some more creatives. And so hopefully I can kind of create a space where we can all get together and swap ideas and see if there's something to build out there. So I think it's just important to have a community of creative people.
Right.
Um,
What kind of stuff are you working on in terms of
I'd
creative?
rather not get into it on the show. We'll talk
I got you.
offline.
I got you. I got you.
All of my ideas and all of my little love childs.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But I've really enjoyed having you. Is there anything that I have not asked you about that you'd like to talk more about? Oh, we talked about what you wanted to be growing up and how you got into storytelling, and you really thought of a lot of the people we also just saw as superheroes, as scientists, which I think is super dope.
Right.
Um,
Even I mean, there's a lot of space to kind of explore like where I'm going with the independent route. So I think that's going to be something crucial for. I mean, not only just our culture, as Black people, and us being pretty much in a millennial space.
yeah,
I think that us being independent in a space where we own a lot of digital assets and own our content. Not only just creating stuff on YouTube and this and that, but you have another platform that you can really catalog those things and then be able to leverage it to other companies later on that need content. So the things that are coming out now that people are seeing that are popular, like NFTs and stuff that's on
yeah.
blockchain and other cryptocurrencies and other that stuff.
Other tools of trade.
Other tools of trade, but it's all leading down a path of not necessarily having to depend on an institution or infrastructure that's not owned by you, that, telling the creative what to do. So I think that's a space that, a lot of us can really, really tap into. It's a lot of research depending on, your circle. Sometimes you're just blessed with the circle of people that, they're in it, they're around it, they're making money from it already. But sometimes you just gotta, get your books, go on YouTube, hit the blogs, and just tap in and try to explore those things.
Yeah, no, I think for me also, like, I'm in this headspace of like, I just want to create for the sake of creating right now. Like, I'm not really bent on like, oh, it's got to make me all this money. I'm like, I just need like a space where I can just exist.
Right.
Frankly, like, cause it's enough to have to go to work every day and to be expected to be productive and to do this. I just want to just be.
Yeah. And yet, what you're saying is almost a problem that I think, or not necessarily a problem, but
Go ahead.
There's a challenge that I think I have some ideas for, where I don't know if people have been tuned into shipping containers. But shipping container, a lot of places have, a lot of states and different things have shipping container homes. So people have, taken these containers, these shipping containers, they're built out of like a much more durable steel, and they're creating and, constructing their homes out of them. So my concept was, most creatives, music producers, filmmakers, video editors are usually kind of creating out of their home at this point, because studio time is just too expensive.
Yes.
So I think it would be, a great idea for content creators to have one shipping container unit that's built out, your studio. So you have some land. I mean, it will depend on, where you live. Sometimes the permits and zoning might be a little, challenging, but, you have a lot of land. It doesn't even need to be a lot at that point. It could just be,
I'm like, which one of my engineering friends will help volunteer to get stuff like this done? or pay them, but like just to get people who really know what they're doing involved. Like, I've worked in proposal management for engineering firms for the last 7 years, and I've met all kinds of amazing people, and I bet some of them will be into some of this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I part-time, I work at Home Depot primarily. To kind of get my DIY building skills up. So when it comes time for projects like that, I don't have to spend as much money. I could own a unit that I'm working on, so all of this stuff that you're creating as a content creator, as a music producer, as this and that, from a physical in a business standpoint, you're building out of a place that you don't own, studios and, rentals that people do for, creative spaces. More than likely, they don't own the building or the land. So I think sometimes that would be a beneficial thing, because even if something happens down the line, you just decide to switch, lanes, and you don't want to be that particular kind of creative. You want to
still own the land. You can take it down, redo it for whatever purpose you intended for.
Most definitely, so.
Okay, so you got like extraordinary vision about what the future holds and how to get it done. What is the biggest challenge for you in being a creative?
I think the biggest challenge is actually the biggest advantage. The biggest advantage and the disadvantage are polar opposites. Like, having so many ideas and having so much, that you can execute on, can be the issue, because you're so attached to them that you have to really be organized, because it might be multiple categories of things you have to execute. Within those categories, there are like 7 or 8 branches of other small things that may take, pseudo skills, and things that you don't even want to really do. You might have to get your admin skills together to, start working on this and that, and graphic design
skills together.
It's like even with me with music production, I really wasn't that great at mixing.
Okay.
So I didn't really, because if anybody who doesn't really know, there's the music production side of creating the track, and then there's the mixing of, once that song is finished or when that track is finished, now you have to go and balance the frequencies and take out all of the vocal, inadequacies and all of those things. It's a lot different from the creative thing.
Yeah. Okay. So this sounds like it's got its gift and curse sort of piece to it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give someone that's wanting to be a creative entrepreneur? What skills will they need to have?
I would say number one would be a balance, not even a balance, but a an active pursuit of perspective. And I mean because the other skills can be really learned. Whether it's music, whether it's being a chef, whether it's this that, but the perspective thing is really and it's a very general answer because you can really get back down to specifics, but I think that perspective will allow you to be able to see things and connect ideas that other entrepreneurs may not necessarily be able to do. And and plus the perspective will allow you to be able to be rational, in terms of your spacing,
Right,
because
like you can't do this in 6 days, maybe in 6 months.
you know, it might, or you might realize, like, you know what, I got a lot of stuff on my plate. Let me learn how to delegate a few of these things. Or it might be, I got a lot of stuff on my plate, but I know all of these skills will eventually be able to serve me. So let me learn them. Let me just take my time and learn these 4 or 5 skills. And then 50 years from now, I'll be 10 times further than where I would have been if I just had one skill and then learn how to delegate. So I think that perspective piece just puts you in a different pocket because it'll allow you to always remain a student. It'll allow you to always remain somebody who's actively pursuing, progression and trying to get better, and trying to always, put yourself at the optimal space.
Right place, right time, right attitude and skills.
Right. Because I mean, not to cut you off, because I know you're about to say them, but the to be a creative entrepreneur, I think, is a new thing.
Yes.
It's
I feel
not
like it's
really,
relatively.
because people are like, what? First of all, what is a creative entrepreneur? That's probably but it's just looking at creative pursuits with an entrepreneurial eye. So whether you're a filmmaker, in this day and time, you're an entrepreneur. If you're a rapper, in this day and time, you're an entrepreneur. If you're a chef, this day and time, you're an entrepreneur. So all of those creative pursuits, if you're going to try to monetize them, you're going to be an entrepreneur. So you kind of have to really look at it. Unless you're going to just do it for the sake of doing it, like you just make the best, pasta in the world, but you're never going to sell it at any point. Then cool, you just do your thing. But if you're going to try to have some sort of livelihood around this, then there are the other admin skills that come along with being an entrepreneur that you're going to kind of have to be at least efficient at.
Yeah, very true. Whether you like it or not, you need to keep up with your receipts and balance your books and know
Yeah,
your numbers.
right. And that's not talked about within the creative space, because it's like it's kind of a thought process that I'll get so good at the creative thing that I'll be able to leverage that and have somebody else handle it. But it's like, maybe not. Maybe, I mean, you might be Beyonce good, but you might not be Beyonce good.
Look, I'm ambitious. Somebody said everybody can't be Beyonce one day on LinkedIn. I said, well, what if I want to be Beyonce? She's like, by all means, Miss, be Beyonce.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
because there is a scale. Like, I mean, Beyonce is like out of this world. It's like there's
yes,
only gonna be one or two of her every like generation.
generation.
So after that, then you have the top 10% of the people that you see on a regular basis. Then after that, you see the I would say the middle 40 to 50% of people who are working, musicians, actors, that are like, you kind of know them, but it's like, ain't you that guy from wait a
From
minute,
so and so, I
yeah,
can't
exactly,
place the show right now.
you
Like,
know him, but then
yeah,
you kind of, and then there's people who you kind of really don't know, and they may be in a space where they're actively able to pay their bills, this and that, but they're just not famous.
yeah. I mean, for me though, like that's a question I'm always thinking with because people are like, "Will you want to be famous?" I was like, "No, I think that would stress me out." Um,
I got you. I
uh,
got this. There's a lot that comes with fame. I mean, this it's advantageous in terms of marketing and maybe getting getting into a restaurant quick. But I mean, to some of those other things, if you're not ready for that level of attention and you don't have self really built up, it's going to be rough for you. You know.
Yeah, I think for me, I just like the idea of like having an ounce of privacy, and I don't feel like you get that when you're famous. Like people,
Yeah.
feel entitled for you to like sign the autograph, and really all you want to do is drink your sweet tea in peace. Like,
Right. See, like I think fame is good for, your projects and your marketing and
yeah,
this and sometimes you can't avoid it depending on the space, you're going to be in. You know, it's like, but I think you have to come into it with the knowledge base of like, what am I looking for fame to be? It's like, am I
true.
looking for fame to be my, validation for who I am and, what I feel like people should look at me for? Or is I like just look at it as a tool, like it's part of the game and, if this is going to help me be here, then cool.
Like, is this gonna help me make sure all the kids in the neighborhood got school lunch? Because that's what I want my money for. Like,
Right. Some of those aspects, are then fame is like wonderful, but it helps you get a message across because essentially fame is just being cool. It's like you're just a cool person in the relevant moment. But it's just on a super large scale, it's just, worldwide. So I think that's what, fame is. It can be great if you're conscious of what influence can do.
yeah,
But, if you're letting the fame influence you, then it has just as much power.
that makes perfect sense. Are you the influencer or the influenced?
Most definitely.
That okay. We got all over the place today.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed my conversation with you a whole bunch. We talked about kind of what you need to know and who you need to be in terms of like being a creative entrepreneur, how the world has changed. If people wanted to get in touch with you, is the website the best place at imchakay.com?
Yeah, I would say if you just wanted to shoot, a email for, to just to build with any sort of business based sort of things,
Yeah.
I am at imchakay@yahoo.com.
Okay.
In terms of just reaching out, I would say Instagram, DMs are perfect because you can kind of just see what I'm doing in terms of the content I'm building on. If you want to react to some of that, or just shoot me a DM at Instagram. It's still the same handle, I am Chakay. So
Okay, so if you want to email him, you can get a hold to him at imchakay@yahoo.com. And if you're looking for him at Instagram, it is also imchakay. So look, if there's any place you want to find him on the internet, that's what you need to be typing in.
right, it'll get there eventually.
It'll get there eventually.
It'll get there some sort of way. As long as you remember I am Chakay, you'll be able to reach me.
Perfect. And so don't forget, get the copy of Touch. It's out now. It is a 100-page short story that is also soon to be accompanied by an EP. Today's guest, Chakay Witherspoon. You all, thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention. Chakay, thank you so much for being a part of the show. If you'll hang out for me for a second backstage.
No problem. I enjoyed it, guys.
All right, so thank you all so much for watching Career Conversations today. I am so glad you took time out of your Saturday or took time to catch the replay. I am bringing up some really cool guests for the next couple of weeks, and then I'm going to take a little hiatus and plan out for January and February 2020. If you know of anyone who's interested in being a guest or being a part of Career Conversations, the production piece, please be bold, be brave, reach out to me. And let me know how we can get this together. The website where you can find everything, including the previous replays, unikawalcott.com. It's been a pleasure. I have enjoyed this project, and I look forward to creating even more exciting content for y'all. Love y'all.